Not a bad setup.
Not at all.
And this is fucking mobile.
I know.
We get a fucking Pelican case.
You in a Pelican case.
What?
You're obsessed
We
with
get a
that.
fucking Pelican case. We pop these mics in there. We pop the mixer in there. And the rest fits in my briefcase that you were making fun of earlier.
In April of 2023. What?
You know what this reminds me of?
What?
Look up RWRI. Go to that website.
You've shown me this before.
I know.
RWRI.
Oh, you know what we could do?
Real World Risk Institute? What the fuck?
Just read that. Read that.
On Friday, October 2nd, 2015, a few like-minded people
Wait,
got together.
That's what you're about to read.
I know. I made the connection.
Okay.
In April 2023, my fiance and I decided to quit our full-time jobs to not just dive into the world of
We
entrepreneurship.
both quit
Yeah.
on that day.
Nobody needs to know the details,
Okay.
even though we're telling
Even
them.
the whole YouTube video.
Yeah.
about it.
Okay, listen. In April 2023, my fiance and I decided to quit our full-time jobs and not just dive into the world of entrepreneurship, but create a world where we get paid to do what we love. That is, get paid to live. Are you that DJ? Welcome to the Get Paid to Live podcast, where we navigate the real-time thoughts, feelings, and actions on this unique quest to intentionally designing and curating a life where we live first and get paid second.
Damn.
This is not a podcast about money. It's actually something much larger than that. That's
Right.
just something I want to make known. But now that we're calling it Get Paid to Live, I don't think I have to explain that.
Yeah, you don't have to say that.
Yeah.
But we can rant about money. What
You can have
is
$1
money
and
to
be...
you?
Money is access.
Wow.
Yeah. Did you think about your answer?
I did.
What is it?
Money is a distraction.
Ooh. So you have like a negative connotation with it.
Money is also a signal.
You're going to say sickness.
No, I'm not that anti-narco-capitalist Parmesan.
What the fuck? Is that Succession talk?
There are two sides to this.
Okay.
Money is a distraction in that if you allow yourself to get hyper-focused on it,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to probably end up somewhere that you don't necessarily want to be, unless money is your ultimate objective. And there are people out there, like a lot of people in finance, you know, they get into finance because their objective is to make as much money as humanly possible.
But what are they actually trying to make?
I think some people actually, that is their mission. Most people, however, I don't think money is their mission. Their mission is whatever, you know, cure cancer, to
Right. That's a lot of people's mission.
get paid to live,
Yeah.
unlock human potential.
Yeah.
You know, people have all sorts of missions.
The people in finance, though, they're trying to make a lot of money to do what?
I don't know, because I haven't met anyone that is necessarily like this. But I mean, I just hear, people that run hedge funds and they get into that because they want to have a bigger number in the bank account than the next guy. Like, that's their thing.
And that's I think that's just like status and power. And that's...
Yeah, for sure.
That, like, money is a tool. It's just a means to an end for something that people, like, we all recognize money as something that is, like, gives you those things. What? Why are you laughing?
Because we're just doing the whole episode. But
No
keep
plan,
going.
no outline. It's kind of like a degree. It's like what people recognize, like a college degree. They're like, oh, yeah, okay, you're smart. If you have that piece
it's
of
like
paper, you're
social
smart.
proof.
Yeah, social proof.
Economic proof kind
Yeah,
of thing.
exactly.
Where it becomes a distraction, I think, for most people when money is not the mission.
Yeah.
However, it kind of blinds them and derails them from the journey and trajectory that they're actually pursuing and actually trying to go on. So that's where it's a distraction. And then more practically, it's a signal, kind of like what you're saying. It's like a degree. It's like the social proof. It's like, okay, you're onto something, because like in business and entrepreneurship, money is a signal, because if people are willing to give you money, strangers are willing to give you money, that's a sign that you're onto something. That's a signal from the environment.
Right. Which is that, that's why I think it's access. It and it could be negative or positive. Like you were saying, it's access to maybe status and power, which some people can argue is wrong or bad or whatever. Or it could be access to freedom, access to family, access to the world, clothes, whatever. Honestly, anything tangible is just like a means to an end. Like, even if you wanted the money to buy clothes, like someone would be like, oh, well, I like, maybe they're just a fashion clothes person. They're like, I want, you know, to buy as many clothes as possible. But like, okay, what's the deeper reason for that? What do clothes make you feel? Because you're putting the meaning on the item, just like with money. So it's like, oh, the clothes make you feel like this. If you have like Louboutins, you're like, well, I feel really sexy in these shoes. And it's just like, okay, well, that's so the branding is working. And then 2, you are able to feel sexy through the shoes, but it's really just a feeling. How to unlock feeling sexy or X feeling without the tangible item? It's hard. I don't know the answer, but I feel like that's a lifelong journey of like feeling things without the thing.
That reminds me of just like makes me think of a Buddhist monk or Buddhist temple. It's like you you unlock this level of like self-actualization that you can kind of like will feelings into existence without the external stimuli. Right.
Which I'm not trying to sound like better than you or anything.
You're better than me?
But I'm going to say what I'm going to say. You can make that judgment. I'm not going to tell you straight up that I'm better than you, but I've had visions about being a monk. I kind of like this talk about money though, because I think it's, even though we just said that we don't want to address the money issue about this name, I think it's actually a really good starting point because it's almost like a meta thing. We are not doing anything we're doing right now because of money, like primarily because of money.
Right. If I wanted money, I would have stayed at Toyota.
I didn't know we were calling people out.
If your only quantity that you're taking into consideration in decision making is money, I don't think entrepreneurship is the best approach. Yeah. Because when you weight the potential upside by the probability of it actually happening, it's probably doesn't work out.
The math isn't mathing.
Yeah, the math isn't
Girl
mathing.
math, boy math, it's not working.
Right.
Honestly, if you are trying to make money quickly, Sam's Club, Costco, Chipotle are paying very well. I'm not even kidding. They're paying like $20 an hour. You know, I've heard. My point is, you're trying to do things quickly and make money. Do not do this. There are so many other options, like literally anything. We're just in the beginning. We don't even know the half of it.
Yeah, but I feel like we kind of do, not from personal experience, but from like the experience of others. Like every time I talk to an entrepreneur, like I talked to my dad, or last weekend when I was talking to Beta and Damon, like telling them about like this new journey.
Yeah, what did they have to say? I'm very curious.
They were just saying like, they were almost like sick at the idea of like, because I think when you're doing it, it's just constant stress, constant uncertainty. They had just gotten fucking robbed. Yeah. You know, it's just so much stress that the idea of just like, oh, it's not my business. I just show up. They pay me predictably. It just sounds so relieving. Yeah. When you're in it, it just seems so unnecessary at times.
I'm in this spot. I did this 3.5 months ago, like 4 months ago, where I'm like, okay, fully on my own. Yeah. But I am not there yet to where I'm like, damn, what am I doing this for? I have moments, but I'm not like, I haven't just gotten robbed and things like that. So like, it hasn't happened to me, and I'm kind of scared because I know things like that will happen. Right. First of all, y'all need to get y'all's rings and y'all Zooms because people are getting robbed. I don't know why that's just been happening a lot lately to people we know, but I mean, I'm not like at that point where I'm like, I'm actually relieved at the idea of not having to manage myself, and I know it's coming, or I think it's coming. Right now, I just feel kind of like I have to make this work. But I think this is the phase where you're like in that, where you're like, nothing can stop me, because you're just like, you're new at it. But I think when you've been doing it for as long as like they've been doing it, you're just kind of like this could be the peak and things go down.
You have time to accumulate trauma.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a relationship. I think like in the beginning, you're going to be like, I want to keep this as, you know, close to me as I can. I kind of like this.
This is the 0th episode.
This is episode 0. And I think this should go on YouTube. Okay. We're not here to talk about the fantasy of entrepreneurship and like, well, don't get me, I'm a fantasy girl. I'm a Pisces. I'm a dreamer, but like, I'm not here to talk about how to make money faster. And I don't want people to get that idea from the title.
If you want to make money faster, if he says work at Chipotle.
If they want to sponsor this podcast, I'm not going to stop them. I feel like if I do have a skill or strength in anything, well, skill, that's debatable. Long shot. That's a stretch goal. But I feel like I do have a positive relationship when it comes to money. And it's not that I want to like say, ew, if you want money, get out of here. I like money. I don't think anything's wrong with it. I have a very neutral / positive relationship with it. Yeah. I just think that we should talk about it less as like, I'm going to die without it, even though that is the case, but more like a kind of nice to have, because whether we like it or not, I know we need it for survival. Whether we like it or not, the people who have more of it don't think about it. They don't think about it often. And I don't think that's a coincidence. You can't make money the center of your life and expect to be extremely rich.
I mean, I see what you're saying. Generally,
I think if anything is like the center, any physical thing is the center of your life, I don't think that's a good way to live.
I mean, it's hard to like, I'm sure there are people that obsess about money and have a shitload of it. I'm sure there are people that obsess about money and have none of it, you know?
Yeah.
But I see what you're trying to say. Like when you're super focused, obsessed with something, it's typically counterproductive.
Yeah. And like, okay, I'm sure there are people who are obsessed with money and have a lot of it. I just don't see it like lasting. And maybe that's the key difference. Like, I don't think it lasts. When you like, because like the tighter you hold on to something, it usually disappears because you're choke holding it.
I feel like the tighter you hold on to something, the more it like holds you back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, let me correct myself. Successful people who are rich and keep their money, or let's say who have wealth, I feel like they have a let go, loose kind of situation when it comes to their thoughts on it. They're not focused on it. Like, that's the point. They're thinking about what's making them the money, not the physical money.
Right. I mean, again, I think it's hard for me to like connect this like caricature you're depicting to like reality, because I don't necessarily know if I know anyone that's like super obsessed with money.
Yeah, I don't know. I can imagine a person.
I do resonate with this idea of like when you're just going after something that means something to you.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to make a business work. You're trying to pursue a mission. A lot of times I feel that will just generate value and the money will come.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think that's just our philosophy when it comes to business and entrepreneurship. You know, I'm sure people disagree with that and just say
disagree with what?
Disagree with, you know, just pursuing the mission and then kind of the idea that money will come as a natural consequence of that.
I could see that.
But I don't know. That feels right to me.
It feels natural to me. I think in this journey you have to be open to being wrong several times. I could see it. I could see us being wrong, but it just feels right. Yeah. Like it just feels aligned. And I think it makes sense because I used to have like a naive version of being an entrepreneur before. Like it was very money focused. Like not like I was obsessed with it, but it was more like I want to have a lot of money. Entrepreneurship can do that for me. So one day I just want to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't really have a mission. I didn't really care to change anything or whatever. And I think lately when I went through something, I like quit my job during COVID, had to like discover myself, started freelancing all by myself. Like when I had a really challenging situation, I was able to identify a problem. Like, I think that's like the first part of entrepreneurship. You need to identify that there's a problem somewhere so you can fix it. And if you're identifying a problem that's maybe like not original and your aim is to make a lot of money, I just feel like it's not fulfilling. It's not fruitful, and you're probably not going to do it for long. It's the same way I feel about niching. It's going to work, but for how long? You know?
I mean, there are definitely people that they get into entrepreneurship just for the money and they find success. But I find most people that they get into entrepreneurship with like this get rich quick scheme. Like, let me do this drop shipping thing. Let me do this
don't get me started
thing.
On our
let me do this NFT thing.
Crypto Forex.
You know,
kings.
I mean, there are definitely people that they do that. They find that they love it and then they find a lot of success with it.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't love it and they still find success with it. But I feel a lot of people, when they kind of go in for the wrong reasons, like there's no like intrinsic motivation there, it's easy to give up. It's not that it's impossible to succeed, it's just easy to give up. And entrepreneurship is all about like not giving. It's basically surviving, just sticking around long enough to get lucky enough to be successful.
Yeah.
It's like that one thing that just kind of like this silly little business that you're running, and then like one thing happens and it kind of makes you legit, kind of gets you to that next level. And I think that's all entrepreneurship is. It's almost like a series of like unpredictable events.
Yeah.
That kind of level you up to the next thing.
Yeah.
And then you just keep doing that.
And just getting better at it.
Yeah, you just keep doing that.
I was literally thinking about this in the car. I was trying to answer the question for myself, because I know a lot of people have this. I have this question. It's like, how do you take what you're doing seriously? I'm very big on, and we're going to talk in this podcast about like your hobbies and your interests are not just something you should. Okay, you can casually do it, but it shouldn't be something that is optional. Like you need to have something.
Right.
Prioritize it. And like not just have it, but like to me, it's like, why on earth would you have this collection of interests the way you do? Even if somebody tried to curate something the same way you did with your same interests and hobbies, they wouldn't do it the same way you do. So you like, not only do you have your hobbies and interests, you have your unique perspective and experiences, right? And I'm like, people don't take that seriously, so they don't go after anything that they like. They're just kind of like, oh, tennis? Everybody plays tennis. That's just something I can do after work. And it's like, okay, but if you like look at all of your hobbies and interests together, like you notice a pattern and like maybe a certain vibe and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it's like, how do you take that seriously? Like, because it's hard in this like socialized world to like take all those things seriously when you're taught that that's after work stuff.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I guess you just kind of have to imagine that it is taken seriously by like other people. Cause like the social pressure. So like one thing I've heard people do, like say on TikTok, like coaches and things, they'll say like with your content, like imagine you're already the successful content creator.
Sure.
Like this podcast has 1 million views. What energy am I going to show up with? So it's kind of like, imagine if the person who wants to play tennis, maybe they don't want to do it professionally, but they want to play tennis at their own tennis club and have like a community of people who are interested in tennis, but like also finance. I don't know. It's like, imagine that idea has like 1,000 people lined up to do exactly what you just thought of. Like you would just come with some kind of leader, HR director energy that you never had. And I think you have to pretend and like, okay, everyone's going to be like, all right, well, I'm going to pretend, but like, what if I don't get any traction? Basically you pretend as long as you need to until it happens. Like then slowly you like when you're doing something, when your body is physically doing something every day that your mind told it to do, it starts to become real. Just like this podcast, we were talking about it for 6 months. I don't know.
It doesn't feel like that long.
It doesn't feel like that long, but I feel like it was long.
Okay.
I at least this year, at least since I quit, you've been mentioning this podcast, I feel like all year. And I was just like, yeah, whatever.
Oh,
and
really?
Then, yeah, I feel like, but then definitely after
fair, everyone
says they're going to start.
Podcast.
Yeah. And I think like, sure, I think that's fine. Like we've been talking about it and I never necessarily was like, okay, this is for sure, people are going to be into it, whatever, but we just kept talking about it, started becoming slowly a reality. I couldn't have told you whenever we started talking about it, I couldn't have told you that on what's today, September 9th, 8th, we're going to sit down and start filming this thing. Like I couldn't have told you that. So it's like, I think you just have to keep doing things enough to where it becomes real and you start to believe it, other people start to believe it, and then eventually it will be that tennis finance club that people are buying tickets for. And it's like, oh, I mean, that's just kind of like woo woo. You're just kind of like thinking about it.
It's not, because like,
but it's not.
Even this like episode 0 recording is just supposed to be a sound check, but it feels so much more real now.
I know,
you know what
that's
I mean?
what I'm saying.
So this is like an example of one of those like unpredictable events that kind of like levels you up. Like this went from just like a silly like bullshit idea, like, you know what I mean? People say they want to do something, but they don't necessarily like mean it. You know what I mean? And it's almost like we were at that level, but now that we like set up all the equipment and we're recording it,
it's like, oh shit, maybe we should do this next week too.
But it feels like it's one level up from just, you know, like this idea that you're talking about of like a beer or whatever. You know? It just feels more real. And that's kind of like the point. You just like keep doing the
little by
obvious
little
things. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in this like new level, this new like reality, and you're like, oh shit. And then you just keep doing it, and then it happens again like 6 months down the road. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, you get like 1,000 subscribers. It's like, oh shit. I mean, we just started like recording these like random episodes.
And then people are into it. Yeah. And then it's like, I think it's because you're slowly putting your ideas into the world. You think they're silly, like they might be silly to you, you're like, oh, it's not good compared to this X person, whatever, but you slowly start like dropping pieces of you into the world, which everything is connected, so there's going to be someone who aligns with what you're saying, and you slowly start dropping it. But like me, I'm watching like if I go on YouTube and I'm watching someone's podcast, whatever it's about, whatever it's called, I'm going to take them seriously. I'm going to think they're a podcaster because they're showing up as someone who has a podcast. So whether they just thought of that yesterday and put it up, or they weren't planning to be like some big content creator, I'm going to take them seriously because that's how they're showing up, assuming that they're not like being ridiculous. And that slowly starts to become my reality. And if I tell someone else, hey, look at this podcaster, they also have that same belief, it becomes real. Like, so like, you literally can't get to the end goal without like kind of this like pretend, like, you know, kind of stage. And I think that's the weird like meta part about it. It's like, I don't think there's any other way to get to the destination other than to just like start.
And I mean, this is the whole thing about almost just being human and like, you know, business and entrepreneurship. You have a vision, you know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't be an entrepreneur if you didn't have an imagination for something that doesn't already exist, you know what I mean? Or a reality that doesn't already exist. Like, if it already exists, then you're just like, there's nothing to imagine, you know? But it's that imagination in that vision, and it's kind of like this like dreamer fantasy kind of thing that you're getting at. That is like the first step of like doing any pursuit, like going any endeavor.
Everything is like made up. Everything is like made up until it's not. Like, people just put something that they made up, people interpret it, and it becomes real. I think it's like things, isn't this like a philosophical thing? Like, things become real because someone like thinks it's real. I forgot what that's called. I think that's a thing where it's like things are only real because someone's like perceiving it as real. Otherwise, it's just like nothing. Consciousness. It's like, you know, unless somebody's like conscious about something, it's like not real. I think that's what is it called?
If a tree falls on the forest, did it make a sound?
What is that?
Okay, never mind. Oh, no. If a tree falls in a forest and no one's around to hear it, does it make a sound? That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. What is that called?
I don't know. It's just like a thing that people have said.
People say? Okay. That idea, like, literally, if you don't put it out there, who's gonna perceive it as real? And then like, when people perceive it as real, you start to perceive it as more real. It's just like a back and forth. It's a system. So I think that's like, it's the only way to get what you want.
Society, you know, we think like reality is like this thing that's objective and like grounded, you know, outside of us. But I feel like realities that we all perceive are more socially driven than we might realize. You know, it's more of a social reality, and the ground, so to speak, is socially constructed. You know what I mean?
Like the physical ground, or like
the ground of our reality.
Okay.
You know? The ground of our reality is constructed by people. You know what I mean? It's like, I believe in something. You know, I put out an idea, and then it's
like a foundation
into it. So it's like, we create the foundation of our reality just by talking to each other and like buying into it. And that's a significant portion, I feel, of the reality that we all experience.
Which is why it's incredibly important to have people around you when you're starting stuff like this. Because you, by yourself, it's hard to manifest these things into reality. You just go insane. I mean, like, it's crazy how if I didn't have anyone around me to affirm this, like if you and I weren't affirming each other with this podcast, it would just be like in my head, I'd be looking at people like, oh man, I don't know if I can do that, or I don't have this skill. I don't know if I can, how am I going to get guests? It wouldn't push you to take the first step. And that sitting down and making this thing is the first step that maybe will get us to so many other steps. But if I don't do this, everything is like a chain reaction. That's why it's all connected. The mind. Stav and Hannah, if you're watching this. Shout out.
All right, what's next?
What do you know what's next?
You're the host.
Okay, so
what else did you want to talk about?
Okay, coming up on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, what is Get Paid to Live podcast going to be about? Honestly, in my mind, this podcast is the message Get Paid to Live is the umbrella on which I feel like both of our missions fall under.
They're compatible.
They're compatible under this message. Shaheen wants to.
So my tagline is unlock human potential. Okay, so let me make the connection. So Get Paid to Live and unlocking human potential. So I feel that we are at our best. We are operating at our full potential when we are fully engaged in what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, I feel a lot of people operate at so far within their potential because it's so mediocrity is so acceptable, and it's almost necessary because people are doing jobs that only mildly overlap and align with their interests and skills.
Right.
You know, if I'm working at Chipotle, call it Chipotle again, maybe I am kind of, the job requires a significant portion of my skills and my interests. So, I like food, so it's nice. You know what I mean? It's cool. I love like processes and like efficiency, so I feel like when you get swamped,
Chicken,
it's
salsa,
gonna be like that.
Corn.
I love like feeling like I'm doing something, so like moving and like doing shit like that, and interacting with people, working with a team. So I kind of like that stuff, like from our event days when
we used to be event
planners and like executing the events. But then
Telebi events.
But then there's going to be a lot of aspects to it that I don't really care about. You know what I mean? It's like, well, it's nice to like feed people, but I don't necessarily like.
That's not your mission.
It's not something that excites me. Yeah. I have passions with like data science and analytics. I have passions with like entrepreneurship. I have passions with music. I have passions with like philosophy and learning and science. And none of those things necessarily fit into that Chipotle job.
Yeah.
So it's really like only 40% of me or 30% of me can really come out and be alive at Chipotle.
Right.
So when I'm only like 30% aligned at something, I feel like I'm going to operate well within my potential. But if there was a job that kind of tapped into all these aspects of
all the best parts of you,
it tapped into like the scientific mind, the entrepreneurial mind, the music, the creative mind, and allowed all those things to be required and necessary to do the job, that's when I feel like my full potential will come out. To bring it all back, I feel like that is exactly what getting paid to live is.
Yeah.
Because if I could just live without worrying about being productive or making money or any external objectives, and only had to worry about like my internal objectives of like being creative, learning, pursuing business ventures, I would essentially just be living my life.
Yeah.
And then if I happen to get paid to live my life,
great.
I think that's getting paid to live. So I feel like that's the connection there. When you're doing everything that you care about doing, it's aligned with your interests and your skill set, and you're getting paid to do it, I feel like that's kind of a recipe to be able to unlock your potential, because now you don't have any distractions of like trying to get a job, like survive,
Right.
You're just doing what you love, and you get to monetize it in some way so you can pay your bills. So that was a long-winded connection there.
Yeah, but it's connected. Consider me connected now. With my mission, I'm a content consultant and coach as of April 2023. Before that, I was doing social media marketing freelance for like 2 years. Prior to that, I was working at Ericsson as a
analyst.
Yeah, I was an analyst and consultant. I was doing a lot of like analytics, data analytics. Don't even ask me.
It's a data wizard.
Yeah, Tableau queen. But basically April 2023, I decided to go out on my own, do content consulting. So that's the background I come from. Where Get Paid to Live has like landed for me. And I think I'm kind of the one who pushed it initially. Yeah. But like we've always kind of been on the same page when it comes to this stuff.
I think that's a
ironic
tangent. That is like the theme of our relationship. It's like we almost have completely different
lives,
ideologies,
worlds,
principles, beliefs.
Yeah.
But somehow they're super compatible.
Yeah.
And they're like really aligned.
That's weird. Because there's like hardly anything that we like the same when it comes to like external things, but values, we're like very aligned.
Yeah.
Growth, freedom.
If you really boil it down, it's all aligned. So I feel like that's why like these constructs on top of that, the interests and all that tend to mesh well together.
Exactly. And so when I left, I've always been chasing freedom, I think, ever since. I was kind of raised in a strict household, but that's not necessarily what created it, but it definitely influenced it. I've always been trying to chase freedom, which is why I quit my job. I didn't think I would go back because I was like, I don't want to have people on me all the time, and I don't want to pretend. I don't want to be fake. So freedom and authenticity are like two things that are very important to me. And I felt like I was getting more freedom in freelance, but I also kind of felt like with content, which is something I was freelancing, doing Instagram, TikTok, UGC stuff for other people. But there's like, if you're in the social media world, there's like very much like this, the way you're supposed to do things, the way you're supposed to post and what you're supposed to talk about. So I was kind of getting fed up with that when it came to my clients, because everybody was getting fed the same junky advice, in my opinion. And yes, okay, maybe it's not junky. There are things you can use to grow fast, just like with money. There are things you can do to get the money fast. But I was just feeling like everybody was lacking authenticity. I'm like, where's everybody's real self? Like they turn into this robot when they get on camera. And I would always try to push my clients otherwise, but they were fed stuff. I was fed stuff. And then on top of that, I just realized like you can't outsource your authenticity to someone. And that's oftentimes what I was being told to do, which is basically like, be me, because I don't have time to do this, and you help, like, make me grow with you pretending to be me. And I just didn't think that worked. So I was like, I don't want to focus on the like social media aspect of like executing, planning and posting. I want to focus on the actual content, helping people be themselves so they can post and actually attract their audience by being themselves. Right. Like, and making content doesn't have to be super hard. You don't need to have crazy cameras and production. Like it can be on the go. So I moved into that, and that kind of sparked this get paid to live, because I'm like, I just want to, I want to coach people on this because I like doing it anyway. I always help my friends with their socials anyway, but I also want to get paid to talk about what I like to talk about. I love talking about, of course, content, authenticity, but I also like talking about my lifestyle, what I like to do, and having fun, and how we should challenge ourselves. Everything is like a fun project, and I realize that people don't live that way, just by observing people around me. And I'm like, oh, well, I just want to document it and have fun and be a creator, but I also want to like help people. So I wanted to make Get Paid to Live a slogan, mission that I tell myself and that I also like preach to other people. But really, it's like with my company, IOA Studios, it's get paid to live being 100% you. Like that's the golden combo for me. Since we're both into entrepreneurship, we were thinking that was the connecting piece. But I really felt like our mindset, our values and our mindset, that's the thing that like keeps us closest, I think. And I feel like that's even more in common than just entrepreneurship. So this right. podcast has elements of business because we feel like that is a means to getting paid to live, right? But it's so much more than that. It's like it's our approach. It's just the way we live our life that I think is what I hope to be an example for someone else. Like I am okay being held to that standard because I think this is what I believe. And if I'm not living how I believe, I want there to be a natural constraint to force me into that.
You're just creating an environment to support your persona, ideal lifestyle.
Exactly. And like me, I think we should just have fun. We should live in luxury. We should be doing what we want. If I don't want to have a meeting at 3 on a Friday, I don't want to. It's not even that, it's not even that shallow. It's just like, truly, I just want to do what I want to do, because I've never been the person who's like, oh my God, like during COVID, everybody was like, I'm going to be bored without a job. And I was like, bored? Honey, we have lists of projects to do. Like I have plenty to do. Right. I like keeping myself entertained with what I want to do. If I want to redecorate my iPad, that's a fucking project. Like that, we're doing that today. And I just want to be able to do that whenever, however. If I want to, and same thing with money. Like, and again, entrepreneurship, business, these things I want to do means to an end. I want to be able to go on a trip and travel when I want to. If I want to meet up with a business partner, if I want to meet up with a friend, which I'm going to do later this month with no money, I want to do that. And like, I just don't want to be held back. And I think if not now, when is going to be the best time to do this? Like we don't have kids. We're just two single chaps together chaps. Legally single as of right now. I'm just kidding. But like, when is the best time? And like, a lot of people our age are in the spot where they can do it. They're just scared. Right. A lot of people are just scared. Like, I get it. Like, it is scary, but like,
and it's so foreign. They're like, no examples.
And even if you look at examples, like, you still have questions. It's like when you're looking at a course, you still like, okay, but how does this apply to me? And like,
and also there's also this thing of like, oh, that's like their thing. That's not something that I could actually do.
No.
But it's like the same thing with weight loss. Before I lost weight,
that's true.
I would see all like the progress pics and success stories.
Yeah.
But it never really sunk in like that was ever for me.
For me, like it could be my life. Yeah. You know what? And I love breaking that boundary for people. Nothing gets me more.
Yeah, because honestly, once that belief was broken for me,
changes
like,
your life.
What else?
What else can I do?
Yeah, what else am I holding myself back from just with my beliefs?
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Everything is a perspective. And that's why when you become an entrepreneur, your mind has to change with it if it's not already changing, because you have to open your mind in ways you've never done before to get the job done. Like I don't think you can come in closed-minded and leave closed-minded successfully, because you're gonna need to see things differently so you can get different results you've never gotten before. And like before you lost weight, you needed to get results you've never gotten before. You have to think and do things differently. And I think that's all we need to do. And it's hard, but it's also kind of simple at the same time. Like, it's hard to execute.
Yeah, it's simple but hard.
Yeah. And I think, okay, yes, I get it, fair. Like, not everybody wants to like uproot their life or quit their job or do something extreme. Like, it's uncomfortable. I get that. It's just that, why is it like, oh, it's uncomfortable, so let me just stop? Like, that's what I don't understand. Like, it's uncomfortable. Okay, what can I do to overcome that? That's what I don't see. I never see, this is uncomfortable. It's going to take me a few weeks to get over it, but how can I come back to it? I always see it's uncomfortable. Let me just go back to the default robotic life. Yeah. And I'm like, whoa, when did that happen? Who said life is supposed to be easy? First of all, who said that? I'm not even the queen of like hard 75 hard challenge girl. Like, I'm not even that person, because you're never going to be fulfilled. Yeah. And I don't like using absolutes. I'm just kidding. I love using them.
You just get used to whatever situation you get to. If you get an easy life, you get used to it. And then that easy life is going to have its hard part and easy parts. You could see someone that makes $500,000 a year. Yeah. And like comparing their life to your life, you'll be like, wow, their life is so much easier. But if you zoom in and you compare like the emotional, like the affect, like the perceived easiness and hardness of your lives, it's going to be the same because you adjust to whatever life you're living.
What you get to.
Whatever situation you're in, you adjust to it. And so unless you fundamentally shift your perspective, it doesn't matter if you're making $60,000 a year or $600,000 a year. Your emotional state isn't going to change much.
You just have to set the bar and let your body and everything adjust. Don't set the bar low and then don't cap yourself. Like, literally, you can do more than you think you can. Just try. I mean, for goodness sake, just try. And my argument is that process can be fun. Like, I don't think it has to be.
It can be hard and fun.
Both. But like, I think people make it a little harder than it needs to be. That's why I like using like creativity and authenticity. Like, approach it the way you want to approach it. Like, do it how you want to do it. Like, that's what's amazing. And we have the power of the internet, which is like posting things on social media. Like, I just don't see how people don't see that opportunity. And you don't even have to be a personality these days. You can create a career. But anyway, that's get paid. So that's my story. This podcast will be a tool for us to discuss our beliefs, our values, our mindset, but also show the reality of this process and how our approach on the process, because I am aiming to have fun. I am aiming to be myself. I am aiming to grow and challenge myself. And I think I want to document that, but I also want to show other people who are in the process, because something we couldn't find necessarily was a group of like people who are like us to meet with and chat with, who are showing us really what you're going through. I like transparency. I want to tell people what's actually going on because that's what's actually impactful.
Yeah.
I don't want to just...
It's actually helpful.
Yeah, I don't want to just have cool guests on here talking, give me the same 3 tips about how to grow on social media or how to, you know, manage your finances. Like, I want it to be more in depth and like emotional because the process is emotional too. I want it to be just real. I want it to be real. Okay. Well, this wasn't even supposed to be an episode. So
I know we fucked up.
So
we got to get the Google Drive figured out now.
I know. We got a lot of footage.
Hire an editor.
All right. Thanks, fam. We'll talk to you whenever this goes live.
Is that you signing off?
Yeah, what about you?
I thought you were gonna do like a proper close, you know?
Okay.
Let's try something like, so that was the 0th episode. Thank you guys so much if you made it to the end. This is a new journey for us. We're super excited for what this is gonna look like in the future. Make sure you hit that subscribe button.
All right, we're done. We're leaving that in.
How would you do it?
I just say bye.
Okay.
I just like having conversations in Irish leave. What is it? Irish exit. Yep, exactly. I don't like doing all that fancy stuff. All right, see ya.